I've officially lost all faith in the Baltimore Ravens this season after only one week one loss. It was a doozy as the Ravens fall short to the Bills 41-40. We touch on the negatives with this game because there is certainly a lot to discuss here next on the Ravens Talk podcast.
Look, this the Raven Talk, this the Raven Talk, this the Raven Talk podcast. Follow us on Instagram, on YouTube for the broadcast. Said this the Raven Talk, this the Raven Talk, this the Raven Talk podcast. Not old news, this is new news to the whole world where they ball at. Come and listen to the former writer for the Baltimore Sports Illustrated.
It certainly appeared that this would be a Sunday night football game to remember for Baltimore Ravens fans. That is until it wasn't, as the Ravens fall short to the Bills once again. This time by a score of 41-40 as the clock strikes zero following a field goal to end it for the Baltimore Ravens. We will touch on all the things that went wrong for the Ravens in this one, but we are going to make sure we are very, very honest and very, very unfiltered in our response because we got some things to discuss here. Welcome to Ravens Talk. I am your host, Njoku. Again, the Ravens fall short to the Buffalo Bills again. Last time it was in the postseason. This time it's in week one of the regular season in Buffalo. The Ravens have to face off against a team that knocked them out of the playoffs for the second year in a row. They fall short yet again. And this time we need to discuss what this means for this team moving forward. We'll also touch on some of the good because there were some good plays. The Ravens, again, they scored 40 points, so it wasn't all negative, but we will certainly touch on the positives in this game and what that could mean for this team moving forward. But first, I am going to be honest. I mentioned it at the intro to this thing. I have lost faith in the Ravens. This is going to be a monumental loss for the Ravens. Now, this is as a viewer, as a player, as a coach, it is up to this team to find a way to bounce back from this loss because it is a heartbreaking loss. The Ravens were up 40-25 at one point in this contest. It felt like as if the Ravens were going to run away with it. It felt like 40-25 was too low a score in terms of deficit for the Bills because the Ravens, at least initially, looked like they were dominating the Bills. Now, of course, Josh Allen was being Josh Allen, and he deserves a lot of credit for the way he performed in this contest, and the defense was struggling with him all night. But the story was that the defense of the Bills could not slow down this Ravens rushing attack at all, and that gave Lamar Jackson lots of opportunities to dice up that secondary. But things happen. And things always happen with this football team, it seems. It feels like every single week that they play professional football, especially in the big moments when the lights are brightest, this team finds a way to falter and make mistakes. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if my faith will return. I was very positive and upfront about what this team was capable of. Eric DeCosta did a phenomenal job putting pieces in this roster to kind of fortify and fill holes that I felt led to their detriment last season. Didn't have much of a pass rush. Ooh, let's go get Mike Green. Secondary was a concern. Oh, let's draft Malachi Starks. Receiver core needs a bit of a juice. Let's get DeAndre Hopkins. Let's get LaJohntay Wester. So the Ravens were doing all the right things in the offseason to make many people believe, including myself, that this was the shoe-in Super Bowl contender. Now, you can't knock out the Ravens after one loss. No team is out after an 0-1 start. Remember, the Ravens started off 0-2 against the Raiders and the Chiefs, and the Ravens still found a way to get to the division round in the postseason. So it's not like the Ravens aren't going to make the playoffs. I mean, there's a chance. There's a chance that the Ravens are going to lose this game, and couldn't tell me that 15 minutes prior to the end of the game, but it happened. But all things considered, the talent is here. The Bills, we know, were going to be a monster team to have to deal with in the AFC. We knew the Bills and the Ravens were going to go neck and neck. And even now, it's hard for me to even say that the Bills are the better football team. But what I will say is that they're more mentally prepped to handle the situation that is in front of them, and that is to overcome the Chiefs and get to a championship. It's a major hurdle for the Buffalo Bills, and it looks as though they have, at least initially, done all the right things to push that envelope. Now, the Bills and Chiefs will meet later on this season, and that's the story for them. But as far as the Baltimore Ravens are concerned, the question is, can they stop themselves from falling short when they're up by multiple points, multiple possessions? No lead is safe with the Baltimore Ravens, it feels like. Even with the addition of Jair Alexander, even with Mike Green, even with Malachi Starks, even with Ruben Lary, who was inactive for this game. Even with all of these pieces that we have here to try and fortify this defense with Chidobe Awuzie, who played pretty decent, I would say, in this contest as well, it just seems as though there's just a mistake waiting to happen with this team. And boy, did a mistake come as Derrick Henry fumbles the football and gives the Bills all the juice they need to come back and steal victory out of the jaws of defeat. Whereas the Ravens do what they do best, and that's steal defeat out of the jaws of victory. No team does it better than John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens. And that's where I will take this conversation, because we talked about it in the offseason. This is a Super Bowl or bust season. That question was laid out to John Harbaugh, and John Harbaugh dismissed it as that the people who say these things don't know what it takes to succeed, don't accomplish anything. Those are the people that say things like Super Bowl or bust. We're witnessing it, man. We're in week 1. We didn't have to wait to the division round of the postseason to see it. We are seeing intricacies, fabrications. We're seeing the fabrics of a team that is unable to close games yet again. It is 2025. It's 2025. And the Ravens are still losing games the same way they always lose games. What is the common denominator here? It's not Eric DeCosta. It's not Derrick Henry, who was just here a couple of years ago. It's not even Lamar Jackson. It's the guy that's been in charge of this team for 18 seasons. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. And the king isn't Derrick Henry. The king isn't Lamar Jackson. The king is John Harbaugh. Continuously finding ways to lose games. Now, is he the reason why the defense doesn't know how to stop a nosebleed against, albeit a high-powered Bills team? I can't put that all on John. I'm not going to do that. Is he the reason Derrick Henry fumbled the football? Nah, I can't. John Harbaugh don't got the helmet. I can't put that on John. I can't put that on him there. Is he the reason why the Ravens failed to put the pedal to the metal, put the foot on the gas when they were up 2 scores with a chance to take another lead instead of rushing the football, trying to wear out the clock because we're afraid Josh Allen is going to do what Josh Allen wound up doing anyway, instead of putting the ball in the hands of the MVP, the 3-time MVP, as we say? If you believe that, is John Harbaugh the reason why Todd Monken didn't put the ball in the hands of Lamar Jackson? I don't think so. I don't want to say that. But here's where I can certainly put the blame on John Harbaugh. Being up by 15 points after scoring a touchdown and deciding to kick the field goal that Tyler Luke missed, by the way, instead of going for 2 and taking the 3-score lead. If you play John Madden, you know what to do. If you play Madden football, you know what to do. If you've been a coach in any level of this sport, you know what to do. It seemed like everybody knew what to do except for Mr. John Harbaugh, right? Is that on Chris Horton to decide to stop the coach for going for 2 points? Or I just don't understand who we're blaming here. So John gets the blame for not going for it on 2. Do they get the 2-point conversion? I don't know. You got the best running back in the league, looks like, and the best quarterback in the league, looks like, behind center. So maybe. I think there's a pretty good chance that you make it, other than your rookie kicker who's playing in hostile environment for the first time ever, missing an extra point, which he has been known to do throughout training camp. So that blame goes to John, in my opinion. Not going for 2 points and giving your team a chance to be up 3 scores. That is football 101. My wife, who doesn't coach football, asked why they didn't go for 2. She knows football a little bit, but I digress. The point is, she knew. I knew. I'm sure Tyler Luke knew. He wasn't going to tell the coach as a 20-something-year-old, but why is it that we're having these conversations in 2025? John Harbaugh was brought in to be the head coach of this football team in 2008. It has been 18 years of this. So when I say I have no faith in this team, I have 18 years of experience, notes, and overall examples to pull out of a hat of nonsense decisions by John Harbaugh when it comes to this. So John Harbaugh absolutely owns part of this loss. So, Oh, he just wanted to kick the field goal and take a 2-score lead. He trusts his defense. Fine. How about the decision to kick the football with 3 seconds left of the play clock instead of letting it wind down to 0 at the end of the half before Tyler Loop kicked the field goal so that Josh Allen has less time to go down the field, which he did, to give his kicker a chance to make it a 1-score game before the half ends, because 3 scores made all the difference. As we plainly see, the Ravens only lose by 1. Again, everyone knew that John Harbaugh was going to call that timeout, right? Until he didn't. What is going on after 18 years that we don't understand how to coach football properly, especially considering the type of offense that the Ravens play? Possessions are crucial. It's the name of the game. Time of possession is the name of the game when you're predominantly rushing the football as an offense. I don't understand. Still, again, it's only week 1. Plenty of time to turn this around. The Ravens aren't automatically eliminated from the postseason because they lost to 1 point to the team that was in the AFC Championship 7 months ago. I'm not saying that. But I'm tired of seeing this team lose the same way in a different time period over and over and over again. It's tiring. And I'm just speaking for Ravens fans because I know my DMs are full. My mentions are abreast with nonstop complaints from Ravens fans. And it's tiring to comment, I know. Yeah, I agree, but what can you do? John Harbaugh's not going anywhere. He's not getting fired after this game. It'd be foolish. Everyone knows that. John Harbaugh will finish out the season. But when I say Super Bowl or bust, and you get comments from the head coach of the football team that lost in the divisional round for the playoffs a year after losing to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, a few years after losing to the Titans at home in the divisional round, when you have time after time, opportunity after opportunity to get over the hump, you are wasting the years of Lamar Jackson. You're wasting the years. Lamar says, oh, I'm only 28. I got plenty of time left. Time is the worst enemy you will ever have. And we mean that figuratively and literally, apparently, with the way the time management is for this football team. Lamar says, oh, I got plenty of time. No, you don't. Aaron Rodgers probably thought the same thing. He's 40. Looking like an old skeleton out there. Of course, the Steelers pick up the win. But man, did he look like the same Aaron Rodgers we saw in Green Bay 10 years ago? No. Players are going to come. Teams are going to get better. You're not guaranteed anything. This is the year for the Ravens. It is Super Bowl or bust. You can't fumble the football. You can't cause turnovers for yourself. You can't make poor decisions when you have possession. You can't miss out on assignments when you're on defense. And most importantly, you cannot give time to the most valuable player in the National Football League at his house and give him a chance to take the lead. Because you know what? He'll do it. And he did it. And I'm not just blaming John, but John certainly takes some of the blame. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the good in this game because I don't want to get all negative. It's easy to be negative in this program. So we'll touch a little bit about it coming up next here on the Ravens Talk Podcast. Welcome back to the Ravens Talk Podcast. Again, the Ravens do fall short to the Bills 41-40. Lots of blame to go around when you lose by 1 point, when you're up by 15 points with a few minutes left in the game. Certainly. But I wanted to talk about the positives in this game because there are some. Derrick Henry did have that fumble, but he looked like a man among babies, not boys, a man among infants. He was so dominant. The Ravens, and I agree with the decision, gave him the football and let him do what he did best, and that is make them pay. It felt like every time he touched the football, you thought, this could go for 6. This could go for 6. And sometimes it did go for 6. And a lot of that has to do with the play of the offensive line, but a lot of it also has to do with the play of one Derrick Henry who looked all the guy who we saw last season and some. So shout outs to Derrick Henry for what he did. Shout outs to Lamar Jackson. What's understood doesn't need to be said any further. I mean, this guy played out of his mind. Of course, he was in the battle of Josh Allen. The box score won't show it, because Lamar Jackson had the lead most of the time and Josh Allen had to be the one to throw the football to catch up. But he played a massive performance. It was like watching poetry in motion with both of these quarterbacks going head to head. So good job by Lamar Jackson. Unfortunately, he falls short. It's not the postseason, so you're not going to see much criticism head his way. But unfortunately, if this had been a wild card round, a championship round, then the criticism would have still found a way to fall in his lap somehow, which is unfortunate for Lamar Jackson, who continues to falter in these big time moments. So good on Lamar, good on Derrick Henry, but let's focus a little bit on another guy, a guy who wasn't in the divisional round of the postseason last season, and I believe that might have had a direct impact on the outcome of the game, and that is one Mr. Zay Flowers, who could not be covered. Now, I say this with the facts that the Bills secondary wasn't all that great to begin with, certainly came in this place a little hobbled, and so we knew going in that there was a recipe for success through the air for the Ravens if they had the sauce, and Zay Flowers, I should say, certainly had the sauce because he was a man among boys out there as well. He had 7 catches for over 130 yards, a touchdown. He didn't look like he was going to be stopped. He wasn't stopped until the Ravens decided to stop throwing the football because they wanted to give Derrick Henry a chance to close out the clock. And, of course, the fumble happened, yada, yada, yada. We know where I'm going with this. I won't divulge any further. Obviously, as you can tell, I'm a little peeved off about this because, again, the Ravens continue to find ways to lose these football games. But, again, we're not going to get into it. This is going to be one of those episodes where the comments are going to be filled with Ravens fans laying their heart out. And I urge you to do so. Please be sure to comment about how you felt this game went. But I'm going to do my best to stay as even-keeled as possible because if you haven't noticed, this is being recorded right after the game is ended. So there's a lot of raw emotion, a lot of raw thoughts in my head in regards to what the Ravens continue to do or not do in regards to this. Here's another thing that we should talk about. Where's the pass rush? Where is the pass rush for the Ravens? We're done talking about the positives because the positives, in my opinion, end there in some aspects. Tyler Loop, I think, played good as well, considering that he's a rookie. He did have that extra point miss, but overall, I think for a rookie, he played very good. I think the future is very bright for that young man. And of course, Nick Moore, who we love and have on the show often. And Jordan Stout even played well. But the special teams overall on the recovering unit didn't play as great as we'd expect. But another unit that didn't play as well as we expect, again, as you talked about, pass rush. Odafe Owe seemed like he was absent. Kyle Van Noy looked like he lost a step. Mike Green looked good in spurts, but you can tell he's a rookie. There's a reason why rookies usually don't go for a lot of sacks early on. He's getting used to it. I see the vision. I see the flash of his movement. So very good to see. But overall, Josh Allen was sitting pretty back there. He had loads of time, 7-step drop. I'm just going to sit here and wait for the plays to develop because I know you're not going to get to me. And if you do, I'm going to be able to careen around, extend plays, and you're not going to be able to grab me in time because you're not good at rushing the passer. It's basically the play spoke for itself in that regard. So Ravens have a lot of decisions to make. Remember, the Eagles won against the Dallas Cowboys, but they struggled to get after the quarterback. And what did they do the next day? They signed Zadarius Smith immediately. They knew they had a need, and they addressed it. So do the Ravens go after Jadeveon Clowney? No, on the Ravens, probably not. We like our guys, right? We like them all the way to the offseason next year. So, again, the Ravens have some soul searching to do. They know their guys better than us. I'm not going to push them or be against them all season if they don't make a move, but it's certainly an avenue that they can take, as we've seen, at least in one instance, that this pass rush was non-existent. Now, could be that the offensive line of the Bills are just spectacular, right? Doesn't matter who's out there. Could be Micah Parsons. Could be Lawrence Taylor. You're not getting to our quarterback. Could have been one of those games. But it just felt like more of the same with this Ravens team who has the secondary back there, but the talent's not good enough to hold up for 7-8 seconds. There aren't a lot of cornerbacks in the world in the history of football that can do that. So the Ravens need to be able to get to the quarterback early and often. Didn't see that in this game. Very much concerned about the pass rush as we were joyous of the signing of the acquisition of Mike Green, and there hasn't been much to show for it, albeit only after 60 minutes of football. When we come back, we'll close out the show because I think I've talked enough negatives for one day, but we'll talk about what's up next for the Ravens, the mental factor of this football team as we head over to host the Cleveland Browns in week 2. Do the Ravens have another letdown in store? I'm not sure if they can fall 0-2 again and make the postseason. There are some dogs in the AFC that the Ravens need to watch out for. We'll discuss it next here on Ravens Talk. Welcome back to Ravens Talk again. The Ravens lose to the Bills 41-40. Talked about the negatives with this. We touched on a little bit of the positives in this game, but let's talk about the future because, again, a lot of this negativity that's coming from myself and from a lot of other Ravens fans is that could we expect more of the same moving forward? And the answer to that is, at least for now, in my opinion, is probably. Probably. And when we talk about what to expect moving forward, some of that has to deal with, okay, well, the Ravens lose to the team that knocked them out of the playoffs. A very emotional game, very heartbreaking loss. Now comes the letdown, right? Week 2, Cleveland Browns. We know the Cleveland Browns aren't really fighting for a championship. They are a division opponent, so they know the Ravens very well. Could this be a moment that we see another letdown? And the answer to that question is, I don't know. But if we're going off of trends, the likelihood of this occurring is a lot higher than people would think if you're not used to what the Ravens bring you year in and year out. So, talked about what John Harbaugh needs to do and how he might be one of the problems with this team being able to close out. He's not probably, he is one of the issues with this team unable to close out. He'll need to get himself and this team together, the coaching staff, the players, the front office, the staff that's, cooking breakfast for the players in the morning. I mean, everyone needs to be of the mindset of we cannot let week 1 define our season because we can easily find ourselves in an 0-2, 0-3 hole. Remember, the Ravens have a gauntlet in week 1 through 6. It's not just the Bills we have to worry about. You got the Browns sandwiched in between the game against the Lions, the Chiefs, the Texans, the Rams. Those are your first 6 games. They're dogs. Besides the Browns, those other 4 teams left on the schedule have playoff aspirations. Some may say Super Bowl aspirations. Certainly the Lions, who lost in week 1, have a desire to win a championship. The Chiefs, dare we say more. The Texans, with C.J. Stroud, wants to push forward to take this next step. The Ravens and Texans have had a battle back and forth. Do you don't think they're going to come in that game with a purpose? We know what the Rams can do with Matthew Stafford. So this notion that a letdown can occur or that the Ravens are, okay, it's just week 1, losing by 1 point against the MVP of the league, there's nothing to sneeze at. There are serious ramifications, if unchecked, that can cost this team early. As our buddy Kevin Oestreicher with the Lockdown Ravens podcast says so eloquently, losing games in September doesn't mean anything in September, but it does mean something in December and January when you're trying to get seeding, when you're trying to get into the playoffs. You look back in games. How many times we mentioned the Raiders and Browns last season for reasons why the Ravens may not get the 2 seed or the 1 seed? We talk about it ad nauseum because it matters. At the time, we're like, Ravens are making the comeback. They're rocking up wins. They're battling with the Steelers for the AFC North Championship. But when it comes to seeding in the playoffs and getting those home playoff games, it matters. We touched on this past game. You think if this game, week 1 against the Bills, was in Baltimore, this would have been the outcome? Those fans in Buffalo were rowdy. They were pushing the players. BS move, by the way, where Lamar Jackson pushes the fan back. I don't know what the ramifications of that is going to be. This recording was directly after the game, so there could be ramifications for that. But the fans were into it to the point where they're touching the players. You think if that game was in Baltimore, Lamar Jackson's getting pushed around? Not that had anything to do with the outcome of the game, but I'm just saying the atmosphere matters. Home field advantage matters. And losing games against the Browns in week 2 will be a detriment, I promise you. The Bills have a cupcake schedule. The Bills have 2 more games left on their schedule, in my opinion. They got the Chiefs and they got the Eagles. Those are only 2 games that matter left on the schedule. They could easily win the rest of those games based on what we've seen so far in week 1 and past experiences in 2024. Now, every day is different. Every game is different. Every year is different. I get it. But that schedule is looking way more appealing than what the Ravens had to deal with. We just touched on the first 6. Those 6 games don't include the Steelers, who won against the Jets. Those 6 don't include the 2 games against the Bengals, who beat the Browns in week 1. So I'm just saying these things matter. Mentally, the head coach has to get this team ready to play. It's his job. And for crying out loud, John, use your timeouts wisely. You can't take them with you. They're not your kids. Once the half is over, the half is over. The timeouts are gone. So, again, this is going to be a big time week 2. It has more ramifications, more playoff implications than people will give it credit for. But we here at Ravens Talk give it to you straight. And I'm telling you, if the Ravens lose this week 2 game, they're playing on the road in the postseason. I don't care how good the Ravens play the rest of the way. I don't see them winning 15 games straight afterwards, right? I mean, could happen, but the possibility of that happening is low. So the Ravens need to be prepared for this week 2 game. It is must win. Super Bowl or bust. Can't get to the Super Bowl if you keep losing against bad teams. The Ravens have done it before, just like they've lost games they should have won before. So the mentality of this team needs to change quickly. You think they did it in the offseason, but since it's apparent that it's still going on, Harbaugh has less than 7 days to get this team ready for a big-time matchup. Division foe, Cleveland Browns, Joe Flacco back home. The emotions will be high. Still, you have to match that emotion after a huge letdown loss against the Bills. John Harbaugh's been at this for almost 2 decades as head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. He needs to be ready. This team needs to be ready. Lamar be ready. The defense be ready. Everyone be ready. I'm not going to look past the Cleveland Browns. I'm not. I don't trust you. I'll keep it honest with you. I said it at the beginning of the show. I don't trust this team to do what they need to do. So be on pins and needles because this is going to be a defining moment in this season. There are other big games to go, but I don't know if there's a bigger game than the next one, obviously. But this week 2 game is certainly going to be one that people should pay close attention to. That's going to do it for here at the Ravens Talk Podcast. Again, appreciate you guys so much for joining me. Again, tough loss to the Baltimore Ravens. Tough loss to the Baltimore Ravens, losing 41-40 after having a 2-score lead late in the fourth quarter. The Ravens succumb to their demons and fall short yet again. Ravens will see the Bills again most likely. And based on the seeding, based on the loss, I'm not saying it's impossible considering the Ravens beat the Bills in week 4 last year. Still ended up having to play Buffalo in Buffalo. There's a good chance we're going back to Buffalo in the postseason to take those Bills on again. Hopefully things turn around, but I don't trust it. That's going to do it for us here at Ravens Talk. See you next week.